This episode of Overlooked History of Georgia is about the passengers from Georgia on board the RMS Titanic. When the RMS Titanic sank on April 15, 1912, several Georgians were on board the ship. One of the most well-known was Archibald Butt, who went by Archie. Butt was born in Augusta in 1865 and attended the University of the South. He worked as a journalist and later as Secretary of the American Embassy in Mexico City. Butt joined the U.S. Army at the start of the Spanish-American War and earned distinction transporting horses across the Philippines. He did such a good job of his horses, many took note, including Theodore Roosevelt. After Butt briefly served in Cuba, he was made a military aide to President Roosevelt in 1908. Butt served with Roosevelt until the end of his term in 1909, and he then served with President Taft. While Taft and Roosevelt were initially good friends, the two had a falling out. In the 1912 election, both men ran, and Butt had a difficult time deciding who he should support. It was President Taft who suggested Butt take a break and travel to Europe. On the return voyage, Butt traveled on the RMS Titanic. According to some accounts, he was last seen helping people get to lifeboats and comforting passengers as the ship went down. Augusta's Butt Memorial Bridge was erected in 1914, and a marble fountain was placed near the White House in his honor. Another famous passenger from Georgia was Isidor Straus, who was actually born in Germany in 1845. His family immigrated to the United States in 1854, settling in Talbotton, Georgia. In 1863, he moved to Columbus. During the Civil War, he went to Europe and studied business. When Isidor returned to the U.S., his family opened a store in New York. In 1874, they opened a counter at Macy's department store, and in 1888, they purchased the business. Isidor Straus soon became very wealthy, and was well known for his philanthropic efforts. As the Titanic was sinking, Isidor refused to get on board the lifeboat before women and children. His wife, Edith Straus, refused to board without him. They were last seen waving goodbye to the ship's survivors. Isidor and Edith Straus are both depicted in the movie Titanic. The final passengers from Georgia were Jacques and Lily Mae Futrell. Jacques was born on April 9, 1875 in Pike County, Georgia. His wife, Lily Mae, was born May 26, 1876 in Atlanta. Jacques Futrell became a mystery writer, best known for his detective, Professor S.F.X. Van Dusen. When the Titanic began to sink, the Futrells attempted to stay together. Jacques promised his wife he would find a lifeboat, but he was never seen again. Lily Mae Futrell was pushed into a lifeboat by an officer and survived. She died in 1967. The men and women from Georgia on the Titanic all have unique stories, with very little in common aside from their home state. Thank you.
Georgia, 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 the whole day through. Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Georgia on my mind.